The story begins with a mother lovingly waking up her son. It was his first day of school, and she didn't want him to be late, so she used an elementary magic trick called the water bomb to wake him up. He had his breakfast and left for school. On his way, this boy introduced us to himself and the world around him. His name is Zhang Gongwei, and he's a citizen of mainland Taiwu. Taiwu is divided into 3 countries. The Dala Nation, also known as the Peace Nation, it covers about 70% of the Taiwu Empire. It is the strongest and richest country. The Ixuda Kingdom, the country that holds its honor above everything else, the strongest knights of the continent are cultivated here. The Axia Kingdom, the magical nation of Axia, where Zhang lives, it is also known as the Kingdom of Magic. Here, elementary magical education is provided to every citizen. The 3 kingdoms of Taiwu live unitedly as they share common enemies. The Beast Clan of the West and the demons that came from there. The members of the Beast Clan are resistant to magic and are born with an unmatched level of physical strength. The demons are violent and aggressive in nature. They have purple, glowing eyes, and they use black magic. Even though the adversaries of humanity are super strong, humans have found a way to defend themselves. They had built the toughest stronghold ever known in history, known as the Stellon Fortress. Because of this stronghold, humanity has lived in peace for the past 200 years. The scene shifts to Shen Qi Basic Magic School, where Zhang had enrolled. The teacher requested that every student write about the element of magic they wanted to learn. The teacher was a bit surprised when she saw Zhang taking light magic, as it was almost a forgotten type of magic. She told him that nowadays only monks learn this magic for healing purposes. In olden times, light magic was extensively used to fight against the demons' black magic. Almost 1/3 of the mages were light magic users, but since the war had ended and the demons were kept off, there was no need for people to use light magic, and thus its popularity had decreased. Since there's almost no practical use of light magic, the teacher again asked Zhang if he would like to change his magic element, but Zhang had decided that he'd only learn light magic, and so his decision was finalized. Back at home, Zhang's parents welcomed him cheerfully as they were about to celebrate the element that Zhang had chosen. His mother had expected him to choose water magic like hers, but his father had hoped for wind magic like his. But his answer shocked them both, as he'd chosen light magic as his major and space magic as his minor. He told them that water magic opposes fire and wind magic opposes earth. That's why he chose neither of them, and since light magic goes along with everything, the peace and harmony of their family will remain the way they are. Listening to this explanation, both of his parents felt proud of the wise decision that their son had made. The next day, everyone was looking for their classrooms, which were allotted to them according to their elements. Zhang also tried finding his classroom but failed as there were no classes assigned for light magic. He was losing hope, but then the teacher came to him and told him that since he's been the only student for light magic for the last 20 years, the school had arranged a teacher only for him. The teacher took Zhang to his light magic teacher, who, at first glance, surprised Zhang. The teacher was a handsome young man with white hair and a pinkish-purple shade in his eyes. The aura around him was intense. His name was Tiu Xu. In their first meeting, he used his magic to check Zhang Gong's physical capabilities and potential for light magic. He grabbed Zhang's shoulder. His grip was so strong that he thought his shoulder was about to break. Zhang fell down, and on this, the teacher told him that he needed to work 10 times harder than others if he wanted to survive, or else he, the teacher, would destroy himself. He ended the class and told him to come early tomorrow morning. The next day, Zhang was unable to decide if he wanted to enter the class or not. But when he decided to leave, he was called out by the teacher. The teacher told him that he was late. As an excuse, Zhang told him that he overslept. Teacher Xiu ordered him to run 5 laps around the school as punishment. Zhang Gong was terrified only by the idea of running 5 laps around the school. He didn't want to run but had to do it because of the fear of his teacher. When he became tired of running, he thought of walking instead but got caught instantly by the teacher. The teacher, seeing his lack of motivation, summoned his servant, the Tiger of Light, to chase Zhang Gong and make him run. This trick of his worked like a charm, and Zhang completed 5 laps in an instant. While he was lying on the ground, trying to catch his breath, the teacher looked down on him, saying that it was a disgrace to see a student of his age in a condition like this. Zhang Gong was angry at the teacher and wanted to say it to his face, but when he faced him, he got terrified, and instead of saying anything harsh, he started flattering him, saying that he'd do his best under his care, but the teacher got the sign and told him that he knows about his condition and studies as well. He gave Zhang a fat book and told him to memorize it by the next day. saying that it was the only way to prevent Zhang from disgracing him. He also warned him that if he fails to do so, he'll let the Tiger of Light spend some time with him. The only thought Zhang had was to leave the school. He came back home, and his mother asked him why he had arrived so early, and with a face full of disparity. Zhang told him that his teacher had given him homework that he would never be able to finish. His father arrived and saw the book. He told him that these are just some basics of magic that he could learn easily. He helped him and taught him about the theories of magic written in that book. In a very cheerful and happy way, his father taught him, and slowly Zhang also understood these things. Back at the magic school, the teacher was impressed, knowing that Zhang had understood the fundamentals of magic. But he did not want him to take this achievement as his final destination, so he asked him how one would cast advanced magic. To this, Zhang said that the use of incantations would be practiced. Although this was not the wrong answer but the method, since the teacher was asking for the source, he gave Zhang a bump on the head and told him that strong magics can only be cast by those who have a strong spiritual power. Teacher Xiu also told him the best way to strengthen his spiritual power is to meditate while forming a magical orb of light on his hand. Saying that, he ordered Zhang Gong to meditate every day for the next 3 months. He also told him that he was going to the capital for the next 3 months. During this time, he had to meditate and practice every day for at least 8 hours. He also warned him to get ready for the punishments that he'll face if he, the teacher, is not satisfied with his spiritual power level. He told him that meditation can be done using any method and told him to look for the book called Basic Meditation Techniques in the school library and learn from it. While going, Teacher Xiu reminded him that he needs to work 10 times harder than others, and only then will he be worthy enough to study under him. Later, Zhang Gong went to the school library. He was looking for the book that his teacher had suggested while thinking about finding a simpler way to increase his focus potential. He found the book. On its first page, it was written that any pose that will let a person sense the gathered magical element is suitable for meditation. It can be done while standing still, sitting at any place, or even when the practitioner is lying down. Reading this made Zhang happy, as he'd have found the best way for him to meditate, which is to lie down. He was excited to practice and lay on the floor. There he started sensing light elements present in the air. Soon he was surrounded by these elements. He closed his eyes and let the light flow around him. In his mind, he asked the light elements about them and told them about himself. He himself befriended the light elements. The light elements started forming thin thread-like structures and were getting accumulated in Zhang's upper danshan. The danshan is where the deepest energies reside and is the source of all movement, present at the head. This flow of light was warm and comforting. Zhang was feeling that his upper danshan had become a communication channel through which his mind was communicating with the light elements. This warm feeling of coziness made him fall asleep. The day had passed, and night had arrived along with Zhang's mother. She woke him up and told him that he should not do this much hard work as he'd been in school for the whole day. She took him back home. In his room, Zhang expected his strength of magic to increase as he had meditated for the whole day. In order to test it, he chanted a basic spell of light magic, through which he summoned the light elements and formed a small orb of light in his hand. He was able to feel the flow of energy to and from the light ball. Since the light elements were entering his body through the upper danshan, the energy he was losing in maintaining the light orb was being replenished instantly. Zhang was happy to see the outcome of his meditation. From this, he knew that he wouldn't need to put a lot of effort into meditation and could easily increase his spiritual pressure. He was happy with the thought of spending the next 3 months leisurely without his teacher, Xiu. He went to bed, but when he slept, the light elements started gathering around him without him knowing about it. He had unknowingly gained the trust of the light elements, and now that they are his friends, the light elements give him the warmth and comfort that he would get in his mother's arms while she hugs him. Practicing like this and living with the light elements had made him unaware of the time, and in an instant 3 months had passed. But this time, it had given him an exceptional boost in his magic and spiritual power. The day of Teacher Xiu's arrival came. He saw Zhang lying on the ground, sleeping soundly. From his footsteps, Zhang slightly woke up and saw his teacher, which terrified him. He abruptly shouted demon. The teacher asked him who he was calling a demon. Zhang told him that he was having a bad dream about demons and came out with some sweet talk. He said that he missed him so much while he was gone and hugged him. The teacher understood the purpose of all this flattery. He asked Zhang why he was sleeping when he had been given the task to meditate. Zhang said that he had been meditating all this time, but he took a little nap when he felt tired. Teacher Xiu asked him to show how much his powers had increased. He asked him to put his hand on a crystal that he had brought. When Zhang did that, a bright light glowed around him. Teacher Xu was surprised to see that. Zhang asked him if his powers had increased or not, but the matter was not that small, as Teacher Xu had understood that Zhang is a prodigy in light magic. Teacher Xiu told him not to be so excited, as having strong magical powers and knowing how to properly utilize them are two different things that have a great gap of understanding between each other. He said that he'll now teach him the basic practical uses of light magic, and their first lesson will be Light Shield. Teacher Xiu started the spell and told Zhang to repeat it after him. The spell was requesting that the light elements listen to him and help him in order to stop the evil. Zhang repeated the spell, but instead of calling the light elements normal, he called them powerful light elements. The teacher told him that he had chanted it wrongly, but when he saw him, he was shocked. The light shield that Zhang had formed was much bigger than the one that Teacher Xu had formed. He was perplexed, as the spell that Zhang had chanted was wrong, so there was no chance of him forming a light shield in the first place. But here he is, a complete novice with a shield bigger than the master himself. To check the shield's power, Teacher Xiu attacked it with water bombs and flame orbs. He was confused, as it took him the practice of 1 year before he was able to form a viable light shield, but Zhang was able to form a much better one with only 3 months of unsupervised meditation. He's now determined to know how Zhang was able to do this. He asked him what spell he chanted, and he chanted the same spell, but still his light shield was smaller than Zhang's. He had now understood that Zhang had some extraordinary potential in him, and this will make him a super powerful mage that this country will see in a very short time. Again, with the light shield in Zhang's hand, Teacher Xiu was attacking with every elementary magic that he had. He used fire magic, water magic, and wind magic to try to break Zhang's light shield, but failed every time. For the last 10 days, this is what they have been doing, day in and day out. But now the teacher had given up and accepted that Zhang had understood the proper use of the light shield. He told him that they should move on and start learning spatial magic the next day. Zhang was excited to learn spatial magic, as he could use it to escape from his teacher whenever he needed it. But before that, Teacher Xiu told him about the fundamentals of spatial magic. Spatial magic is divided into 2 categories: attack magic, movement magic. The distance that is covered in movement magic depends on the user's magic level and spiritual strength, along with the ability to focus, which determine the accuracy of movements. 3 types of teleportation are possible with movement magic: short distance teleportation, long distance teleportation, large scale long distance teleportation. Most of the time, only short range teleportations are used to avoid enemy attacks, and the other 2 are rarely used as they require a lot of energy from the user. Teacher Xiu showed him short range teleportation by teleporting behind him. Zhang was thrilled to see that. He asked the teacher how he did that. Teacher Xiu told him that this magic can be done using a 1-word spell. Zhang Gong asked about it, and the teacher said that word, the N-word, Mao. It was move. Zhang chanted the spell, and in a flash, he moved. But it was painful for him, as this magic, in an instant, took a lot of spiritual power from him. Teacher Xiu asked him to not overexert himself and practice this spell slowly. Zhang started practicing short-range teleportation each and every day, and with his efforts, the result became visible. He started with 30 meters, which went to 50, then 100, and then 200 meters. His movements were becoming swift and accurate, and in 1 year he had mastered the short-range teleportation magic by successfully achieving its limit of 500 meters. Now that his movements in spatial magic have become natural, it's time for him to learn its practical application. For this, Teacher Xiu told him to follow him to their new training grounds. It was a field with many wooden logs standing still on the ground. Each log had a sack tied to it, and these sacks were swaying on their own. Teacher Xiu showed Zhang what he had to do with this array of sacks. He went in, spent some time dodging the sacks using his short-range teleportation, and came out. Not even a single sack was able to hit him. His speed and observations were incredible. When he came out, he told Zhang to go in. Zhang was afraid that just looking at those sacks could make anyone's mind move away, so going into them and coming out without getting hit is something comparable to impossible for a novice like Zhang. He knew that the consequences of both going and not going would be pretty rough, as Teacher Xiu was standing there with his light tiger waiting for him to go. Without thinking about anything else, Zhang went straight into the array of sacks, only to get hit in the face by a sack. They were heavy and it was difficult to dodge them. Zhang was trying to look for an opening. He focused his mind in spiritual pressure and started observing and dodging the sacks around him. but got hit by one from behind. After many tries, he finally accepted his defeat, requesting the teacher let him go or he would die here because of these sacks. But teacher Xiu said that he should be able to handle a minor challenge like this if he wishes to be a student of his. He ordered Zhang to practice until nightfall in the array. Zhang knew that he would not be able to say anything against him, but in his mind he called him a demon with a black heart and wished that lightning would fall on him. A few years had passed, and Zhang Gong, now 9 years old, had finally become a master of the array of sacks. He was able to dodge every sack along with the external attacks that teacher Xiu landed on him. Now that he has mastered short-range teleportation skills, Zhang can be seen like a fading shadow in the array while he moves. He can now dodge every type of single-hit attack, and finally his teacher has also acknowledged him as the master of the skills that he has taught him. In the past few years, they have both learned a lot from each other. Now that Zhang Gong has mastered most of his skills, he remembers the time when all of this started. Even though he hated his teacher, he was thankful to him, as only because of him was he now able to perform these unknown and rare skills of light magic with such perfection. His short-range teleportation ability has gotten so strong that even teacher Xiu is unable to keep up with him. In the past few years, Zhang have learned a lot of magic skills, like the light shield, which is defensive magic, light prism, a reflective magic, light prism shield, a combination of the above two, divine guard for protection against poisonous gases and dark magic, light arrows, an offensive magic, group light recovery magic, spiritual healing, short-range teleportation, a spatial magic. Small dimensional slash is another offensive magic. While Zhang was on his way home, he was using an orb of light magic to lighten the path. Suddenly, he felt a presence behind him. It was a giant lion-like creature with a flaming mane. It was a demonic beast that Zhang saw. He pounced on Zhang. He was confused and nervous as there was no possible way for a beast to come this close to the residential area without anyone noticing it. He was running away, crying out for help. The beast was chasing him, and just then, a vague remembrance of his master came into his mind. The time when teacher Xiu told him about the most important quality of a mage, this quality is courage. He told him to never run from a challenge and to face it head-on. These words reminded him of all those times when teacher Xiu gave him a thought-provoking opportunity to prove himself, but he, every time, ran away from them, trying to find easier ways. There was no such time when he himself opted in to face a challenge. But this time was different. Zhang, even though shaking from fear, trusted in his own strength and was ready to fight the demonic beast himself. Zhang, preparing the magic in his palms, was ready to fight the demonic beast. He attacked him using the illuminating flare. It was a direct hit to his face. Zhang knew that the attack was not strong enough to defeat him and got an instant response from the beast in the form of a fire breath. Zhang protected himself using the light prism shield while simultaneously attacking with the illuminating flare. At this moment, the beast had lost his mind. He pounded over Zhang to catch him, but he dodged the attack using teleportation magic. The beast was gasping. Zhang knew that the beast had been using his magical powers continuously, and now its level had decreased significantly. But at the exact moment he was thinking about it, the beast came close to him and threw him far away. Zhang was bashed into a tree. He was losing consciousness. His strength had depleted, and he could not fight anymore. On the brink of consciousness, he heard a man chanting a spell. By using the water elements in the air, he converted them into hail and defeated the enemy. Soon, Zhang heard people coming to him. These people had also taken his mother with them. They helped Zhang, who was still thinking about the person who chanted that spell, and saved him. The essence of light elements started healing his body. He was feeling the warmth of it. The next day, Zhang woke up and saw that his wound had been completely healed. Even though he didn't defeat the beast, he was happy to know that he himself had fought against it courageously, and this was all because of what teacher Xiu had taught him. He had now made up his mind that he'd never disobey his teacher and take all of his lessons seriously. At Zhang Gong's house, another kid named Ao had arrived to take him for practice as their exams were arriving. They were given a few-month preparation break. At this time, since teacher Xiu was not here, Zhang was practicing his magic with Ao. The practice match between Ao and Zhang began with Ao using a water bullet attack on Zhang, which he effortlessly blocked and countered with an illuminating flare. Ao asked if Zhang could help him increase the speed of his magic. Zhang told him about a place where he could learn instant dodging easily. Ao was excited about it and agreed. Zhang took him to the field of sack array, where he practiced his short-range teleportation skill of spatial magic. He wanted Ao to know what he had gone through with his